century Atlanta still had a small town feeling. But town and times were changing. New workers from the Georgia countryside continued to come to the city to find work. Between 1895 and 1920, Atlanta's population tripled to almost 200,000 people. Atlanta saw itself as a city reborn, risen from the ashes of the Civil War. It was home to a rising generation of optimists, a place of energy, high hopes, and ambition. At the Cotton States and International Exposition in 1895, Atlanta's leaders celebrated the progress of their region since the war. A new century was coming, and Atlanta intended to be ready. On the Midway, fairgoers were offered a first glimpse of a 20th century technology. But the lovely Annabelle, in tireless, full-flowing motion, failed to impress Atlantans. America's first projected motion picture attraction closed. The exposition planners wanted to be sure the world saw an Atlanta that was keeping up with contemporary social trends. At a time when much had been written and discussed about the new woman, the exposition included a grand woman's building. And there was something unprecedented at an international exposition, a Negro pavilion, presenting Negro progress since emancipation. For the exposition's opening ceremonies, the best-known African-American of the day, educator Booker T. Washington, came from Alabama to deliver an oration. He spoke of the relationship between black and white communities. He accepted keeping them separate socially, so that whites would support blacks' efforts to advance economically. White leaders welcomed the speech. It promised racial peace and progress could continue. History books would call it the Atlanta Compromise. The next year, in Plessy versus Ferguson, the U.S. Supreme Court approved the principle of separate but equal. In Georgia, as in other states, segregation was given increased force of law. But at Atlanta University, it was protested. Spokesman for a group of black intellectual leaders was W.E.B. Du Bois. He argued that segregation was a bad bargain, that it would reduce support for black higher education, it would lead to second-class legal status, even to repression. And in fact, African Americans had much to fear. In 1906, the tensions buried under the Atlanta Compromise exploded. White mobs attacked black citizens and set fire to black neighborhoods. The ugly details were reported worldwide, and proud, image-conscious Atlanta was badly hurt. The city's black enterprises withdrew from the white business district. Gathering themselves together along Auburn Avenue, this community developed remarkable cohesiveness. Starting in 1908, Heman Perry built a business empire that included the precursor to Citizens Trust Bank and the real estate firm that built the suburb of Washington Park. Alonzo Herndon kept his barber shop serving white customers on Peachtree Street. And within the black community, he founded a life insurance company that made him Atlanta's first black millionaire. In 1913, local prejudice turned against Atlanta's small but growing Jewish minority. A flood of anti-Semitic public comment accompanied the murder trial and conviction of a man named Leo Frank. 2 years later, when his death sentence was commuted to life imprisonment, a well-organized mob took Leo Frank from his jail cell, handcuffed him, and hanged him. No one was ever brought to justice for Leo Frank's lynching, and a new version of the Ku Klux Klan was established in Atlanta. This Klan would promote hatred of Jews, of Catholics, of foreigners in general, and of course, African Americans. Also in 1950, a movie that was immensely popular all over the country helped reinforce a white supremacist argument, that if blacks were equal, whites would not be safe. In Birth of a Nation, the white knights of the original Ku Klux Klan were heroes, guardians of civilization. They were also protectors of that frail flower, the spotless, breathless Southern woman. Nonsense, said Rebecca Latimer Felton. The DeKalb County native ridiculed the idea that women were helpless females. Southern women were fit, even athletic. They worked outside the home. They carried responsibilities. They wanted the vote. Felton and many Atlanta women advocated women's suffrage and believed also that white women's votes would balance the votes of Negroes. Despite economic and social struggles, Atlanta grew and prospered. More and more, Atlantans saw their city as a place guided by common sense, independence, and pragmatism. Civic leaders promoted this public style. The city called it the Atlanta Spirit. Yet the region's showplace was still two cities, a black one and a white one.